Did they botch AEW's New Japan's Forbidden Door show, which hasn't happened yet? However, I think we can comfortably say that there was quite a lot of excitement heading into it, but there's not so much excitement anymore for a certain group of people. I am Luke Owen, DAD, and for the first time since April 8th, I am joined by the hardest working person in all of sports infotainment, Denise Salcedo. How's it going, Denise?
I cannot believe we haven't done a show together since April. Luke, what the hell? We're supposed to be buddies.
It was the week after WrestleMania. That was the last show you and I did together.
No.
I know. Brock Lesnar's back.
WrestleMania? That feels like 20 years ago. What?
We have had various things go against us. You have been away. I have been away. I have been working. I've had other commitments that I need to do. You are the hardest working person in all of sports.
You were on holiday, Luke. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, not every time. I wasn't on holiday every time, but there were a couple of occasions where I was on holiday.
I know. Every time that you weren't on the show, I was like, well, if Luke just stopped going on holiday. So even if you weren't on holiday, I was like, he's on holiday.
Yeah, no, not every time. Sometimes I was just working, but I had to work on other things. But yes,
Luke,
I'm glad that we can finally be back together again.
I gotta tell you, my feelings are very, very hurt. I feel like the show is no longer a priority to you. My heart is shattered, broken, battered, and bruised.
You know what? And I shoulder some of that blame. I shoulder some of it. I'm not going to shoulder all of it, though, because
I'm giving it all to you. But you want to know why I'm giving it all to you? Because I was sitting here the last 3 weeks waiting for you, or maybe even more than that. Because if this was okay, I missed last week, but not all the other shows, then I wouldn't be here putting all the blame on you. But I'm going to have to put all the blame on you, Luke, because I was the one here waiting.
Okay, well, Denise, I am standing outside your window with a boombox above my head to apologize.
I love it. Oh my God. That actually would have been a really hilarious way to kick off the show. Be like, I made it. I'm here. I asked for forgiveness.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be doing this show with you and to be talking about quite this subject as well, because you and I we haven't been able to talk about this show. Because this show was announced.
Was the show even a thing when you and I talked?
This show was not even a thing the last time you and I did a show together. So I haven't had a conversation with you about Forbidden Door. So Denise, it's this Sunday. It's 2 days away. Are you excited for Forbidden Door?
You know what? I'm not going to be a negative Nancy. I'm excited for the show. And I'll tell you why I'm excited for the show. Okay, so I'm personally excited for maybe not the entire card, but I do feel even though there aren't any dream matches on there, and I know a lot of people have already argued this, I'm excited just because I still feel like there are some matches on here that are going to be really good, and especially going into a pay-per-view where the talent knows that certain expectations haven't been met in terms of the card. I think they're going to go out there with a chip on their shoulders and make sure that they do an even better job, just to kind of prove the people wrong. And I'm okay, we haven't had a bad AEW pay-per-view that I can really we haven't had a pay-per-view that's been with a bunch of bad matches from AEW. So because of that, I don't feel like they've given me yet a reason to be oh, well, I'm not going to look forward to the show. And then on top of that, on AEW Dynamite this Wednesday, I do feel some of the matches that they added kind of added more to the show. And also, you got to stop and think about how they're working against all of these injuries. And even yesterday, I did my Forbidden Door prediction show. And then 2 hours later, there was another injury. And I'm how the hell is my Forbidden show prediction show already outdated for one match? Why? Because there was an unexpected injury. So I'm thinking, come on, you got to think about all these injuries and things that happen. And, we're still in the middle of a global pandemic. I mean, it's just so much that I feel even if some people aren't excited about the show, I still feel there's a lot of good potential to be had.
I agree with you, because I think it's a great card. It is not the dream card that we all thought it was going to be. We don't have, but the part of that is because, as you mentioned, Punk's injured, Danielson's injured. Adam Cole. We thought Adam Cole was going to be injured and was going to be on the card. Kenny Omega is still out. And there are some names over from New Japan that we don't have. We don't have a Kota Ibushi. We don't have a Naito. We don't have Kenta. We don't have Kushida, who just returned. So there's like all these big names that are missing from this. And like, Ollie's been making this point. It's like Will Ospreay is one of the greatest wrestlers on the planet, if not one of, if not the best wrestler on the planet. And he is in what is kind of a comedy match with Orange Cassidy. Now, I think that is going to be a banging match. I think that is going to be like probably the match of the night, because I think those two are going to go out there and absolutely kill it. But also, like, if you were booking out a New Japan versus AEW card, would Orange Cassidy have been your first pick for a Will Ospreay match? Probably not. But I kind of like it because it's not the match that I was expecting. So I kind of like that they're giving me a dream match I didn't know I actually wanted. So I appreciate it from that aspect of it. I think the reason why I kind of wanted to talk about this as a title for this podcast and a title for this show is because yesterday I was just seeing, like, we had quite a few comments from people being like, I'm not into this show. I'm not bothered by this. I'm an AEW fan, but this is going to be the first AEW pay-per-view I don't buy because I don't really care about New Japan Pro Wrestling. And Meltzer kind of talked about this in The Observer, being like that interest in this show has dipped off since its original announcement, which we'll go into in just a little bit. But yeah, for me personally, I think it's still a really good card, and I think this is going to be a great pay-per-view.
I think what also hurt the show, on top of the lack of dream matches, on top of the lack of big names, etc., I think what also hurt this show is that the fans, I feel like the reason why I say this is because I kind of feel this way. And I know that the card was supposed to be entirely different. I know this, right? But because the match announcements came so late, when you have like, 2 weeks before the pay-per-view and you only know 1 or 2 matches, that's not a good thing. You kind of feel like things are being put together sporadically, like out of nowhere, right? And even though that may not be the case, even though they may have already had all these plans and, things to do, which I'm sure they did, because we got the match announcements so late, it almost feels like we were cheated, like we know the reasons why we mentioned the injuries and all of that, but because the announcements came so late, it almost feels like they were put so late, even though they weren't technically, at least some of these matches, because the announcements came just too late. I feel like that kind of sucked a lot out of it.
I agree with you, because the fatal 4-way that we've got for the IWGP Championship it wasn't even announced in that segment. It was announced later on in the show. Like, they did the setup for it, and then later on was like, by the way, this is the match. Towards the very end of Dynamite, they were like, this is the big IWGP Championship match. And I think some of that comes down to they weren't sure if they were going to get Okada, because Okada, he said that his wife is her birthday over that weekend, so there was every chance that he wasn't going to be at that show. And I don't think if New Japan themselves knew whether they were going to have the belt on him or they were going to have the belt on Jay White. So I think there was all those sorts of things working against it in some way. But kind of like Meltzer writes in The Observer, and I do agree with him in some aspects. Shingo Takagi was announced for this show, and like Hiromu Takahashi was announced for this show as throwaway names by Sting and Darby Allin, just being like, oh, and by the way, our partners are going to be Hiromu and Shingo. Like, they don't even use their full names. They just said they just call them by their first names.
I didn't even catch that segment. That's terrible. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was on Twitter or something, got a million things going on. And I was like, okay, they're just going to say something like, this is one of the things that I don't have to pay attention to, right? Whatever. So I was doing God knows what, right? And then all of a sudden I go on Twitter and someone put like, oh, this match announcement has been made. And I'm like, when the hell they announced this? I was like, I've been watching the show. I missed that match announcement. It wasn't until afterwards when they ran down everything when I was like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dudes with attitudes, as some people say, is quite cringy. I think it's a nice little throwback.
It's a nice throwback for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's what Meltzer wrote about this in The Observer. So there's quite a lot to dive into here. So apologies if I stumble over my words, but I will try and get through this. The key aspect of this show are the usual AEW fan base. Will they buy a pay-per-view just 4 weeks after the previous one, since the usual gap is several months? Another big question is the intrigue of seeing New Japan's biggest stars mixed up with AEW stars for one night, essentially seeing the type of matches you normally wouldn't see. Is that a positive for a show or a detriment? So many of the talent on the show are rarely seen on AEW television, if at all, and many for no more than a few weeks. Plus, the real dream match that people wanted to see, whether it's Kenny Omega against Kota Ibushi or Kazuchika Okada or Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr., didn't happen due to the injuries. So that is kind of what I was referencing earlier with the guy who messaged yesterday being like, I'm an AEW fan and I want to buy an AEW pay-per-view. I'm not going to be buying this pay-per-view. Like, where do you fall on this?
See, like, I honestly think if there would have been like it's damn, I don't know how else to say this, but I feel the online community, I think, also has an impact on this, because if there are people that may be on the fence, let's say they're just AEW fans, right? And they're not New Japan fans. But let's say let's say this card was better, right? And everybody was like, oh my God, I'm so excited for this show. It's going to be so crazy. I think that the people that probably don't see that would have been like, oh, well, you know what? Everybody's really excited about the show. So you know what? I'm going to be excited about the show. You know, they're excited. I'm excited. It's a general consensus, right? But I do think when you have, when it feels like the I don't know if this is a minority or a majority, but when you have a chunk of people basically saying like, oh, this does not look good, then everybody's going to be like, well, the people that were on the fence, the ones that are on the fence are going to be like, well, in that case, if the people are saying it's not that good and, you know, they probably know a little bit more, you know what? I'm not going to probably check out this pay-per-view. So I do think well, not everybody thinks that way. There might be a selective few that might be like, well, nobody's saying this show's really a big deal. So do I have to really go spend $50? Because that's expensive. $50 for the show. And I did have like
after spending $50 for another show.
Right. And I on my post show, I did have somebody saying the exact same thing too, that you were saying, where they were like, okay, well, I don't know if I should go out and, buy this show. And personally, for me, I feel like it depends on the person. I feel like I cannot make a decision for everybody and be like, yeah, go buy the show. Because for me, there are still certain matches on this card where I'm like, if let's say I wasn't covering this for a living, I would still buy the pay-per-view because there's certain matches that I want to see. And on top of that, it's also the in-between stuff. What's going to happen in between matches? What's going to be the storylines that we get here between AEW and New Japan? So a lot of the in-between stuff, I want to see what's going to happen. And how are they going to work together? I want to see all of that, everything that encompasses the show. That's what would make me still tune in and buy the actual show. But for a lot of people, this isn't worth it. I have friends that look at that, that are big New Japan fans, and my friends are like, no, this isn't for me. Like, this is not what I want. And it goes both ways. It goes both ways for the New Japan fans. It goes both ways for the AEW fans, etc. And, I listen to that. I'm like, okay, well, if you feel this way, then you probably have a reason to feel that way. And so I really do think that it depends on the person and whether or not they see their time and investment in this pay-per-view or not.
And I think part of that all well comes down to the fact that you mentioned that some of the matches have been kind of late, but lately late announced, right? I think some people could make the argument as well that some of them haven't been that well booked. Like, I don't, Will Ospreay's had 3 matches in AEW. He's lost 2 of them. Like, but that's a Will Ospreay thing, right? Like, Will Ospreay has United Empire to take pinfalls for him, so he can get losses, but he's not the one that takes the pinfalls. The whole point of Aussie Open is the whole point of having the Greater Khan with you and things like that, right? But also, like, Meltzer made this point. It's like his debut match, him and Aussie Open, they lost. And they lost to the Best Friends. And it's like, yeah, cool. It's, Best Friends are great and everything, but they are not top level AEW talents. So you've already introduced this guy. If you're not familiar with Will Ospreay, you're already establishing him as, well, he's a guy that doesn't even beat the top guys here.
Right. I see what they mean by that. And I feel like you can argue both ways. So for me, it's like, I think that didn't hurt me too much because it's like, I've seen Will Ospreay's prior work. So him not winning in this AEW Dynamite debut wasn't necessarily going to be a deal breaker for me, but I can see why people were like, what the frick? Like, he lost in, their debut match. Like, what the hell?
He does, like, apparently he's this special guy, but he doesn't feel very special. Like, if this is your first exposure to him, he doesn't feel like a very special talent.
And there's a lot of people that this is their first exposure. Like, I feel like we can't always assume that every single wrestling fan watches every single little thing. We cannot assume that. Like, we cannot. Like, I feel like a lot of the time we go in with this assumption that like everybody knows everything, because there is a huge chunk of the fan base that is fully aware of pretty much everything. But I do think that, yeah, we can't make that assumption. So for me, like, it didn't impact me too much, but I totally understand why it may have impacted for other people.
Just to clarify there, because someone's saying that I'm not calling Orange Cassidy uppercard talents. I'm saying the best friends aren't uppercard talents. So that's Trent and Chucky T. Orange Cassidy, 100%. But the tag team that they lost to was Cassidy was not involved in that match.
And I think that a lot of people, or maybe a little bit more people, like, I wasn't upset with the announcement of Will Ospreay and Orange Cassidy. And I'll tell you why I wasn't upset with it. I thought it was very, like, I know we haven't seen, Orange Cassidy in a bit, but the reason why I personally wasn't upset with it was because, okay, I know what Orange Cassidy can do. We've seen him in these phenomenal matches before. My favorite one being that triple threat with Pac and Kenny Omega. And that one was really the one where I think I started to see Orange Cassidy in a different light. And so I'm thinking, okay, he was gone there. He's a very popular AEW talent. When you think of popular AEW talents, you think Darby Allin, you think, Orange Cassidy is going to be one of those names that pops up. He's the guy that, does great YouTube numbers for them, etc. Right? The fans get all, even if he's not on a show, you'll see 100 Orange Cassidys in the crowd. So I'm like, okay, this is an AEW guy. Like, this is an AEW guy that has at least made some sort of impact on the fan base. So for me, I'm like, okay, why wouldn't AEW want to put somebody that they know that their fans like, and that can put on a pretty decent match with Will Ospreay? So that's the reason why. Like, would Orange Cassidy have been my first pick? No. Would he maybe have been my third or my fifth? Probably not. But I feel like him being named an option, or named the opponent for Will Ospreay, was not necessarily like a huge deal breaker for me. Because I started thinking, okay, I see why AEW would put him in this position. I see two different reasons why they would put him in this position.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. A couple of other things I wanted to mention here from the Observer, because I found this to be quite interesting. Because this is kind of like the show being announced and there being a lot of buzz about it, and then a few weeks later, like, even looking at our own YouTube numbers, the shows that we did around like the show being announced did way bigger numbers than the shows we have done since. So like the first week when they announced the show, like, really big YouTube numbers for us. Yesterday's Dynamite review with Okada debuting, about 25,000 less than what like the first video did. So that's almost doing like double the numbers. So I think there's an actual trend of interest of decreasing. But here's what Meltzer wrote. What we do know is when the show was announced, tickets sold out instantly. There were 15,462 tickets sold at press time. Now, most likely, aside from the Arthur Ashe Stadium show, be the largest crowd for an AEW event in history and the second largest gate behind the recent Double or Nothing in Vegas. There were tons turned away in line to purchase tickets when it sold out. But in recent weeks, the brand has changed at a level that cannot be ignored. Because the show appealed more to a fly-in market, airline prices being way up and not in the local market, the late demand was entirely different from when WWE produced Hell in a Cell in the same market, which drew huge late interest. And coming into the show, the get-in price was at times over $100. For this show, at press time, the scalpers can't unload the inventory, and the get-in price is $7, one of the lowest for the show in the last few years. With the secondary market so low, it will be hard to sell full-price tickets, and they've added more than 2,000 extra tickets with less than optimal viewing that could put in excess of 17,000 tickets in. But tickets really haven't moved at all in recent weeks with the lack of local market late interest, and a lot of which could be CM Punk selling out Chicago tickets, who wanted to see them go. And also there'll be people like Danielson's not on the show, Mega's not on the show, MJF's not on the show. Like, it's the secondary market for this is not as strong as it has been late interest for other AEW shows.
The $7 tickets that's what they're selling them right now on like the scalpers.
Apparently, so that's what Meltzer is saying. You can pick up tickets to get into Forbidden Door for $7.
Are they I wonder if they're the ones that are the ones that they recently released that are like limited viewing. Because AEW released an entire section, like I'm talking 10 like 10 sections where it's all limited viewing. And I think the tickets on their website were like $35 or somewhere around there. And at first I was like, oh, wow, $35? I could do $35. But then I looked and I was like, oh, these are behind the stage. These are like limited viewing. I don't think I would pay for that. I mean, it depends on the person, right?
I've been to shows. I've been to shows where there are tickets like that. Like I've been to shows. I've been to a Raw taping where I've basically been sat behind the Titantron, and like so, like when you're when they show video clips on the Titantron, I was just watching those in reverse because I was just seeing the other side of the screen showing it. When I went to Royal Quest, the New Japan show they did in London, I was essentially behind the stage. I was seeing the wrestlers walking up like before they went out to the entrance. I was seeing them just walking up backstage to get to the entranceway.
Like, I'll get to like the side, but once I can't see the stage anymore, it takes away from the show aspect of things. Like, I'm going to the live event. I want to see the stage. I want to see everything. I mean, in that case, I might as well just stay home, right? It's a different experience. So I personally wouldn't sit behind the stage. I forgot what WrestleMania it was. Was it 32? Was that Dallas? That was Dallas, right? Yeah. Okay. I was there for that. I can't even remember. But anyways, I sat like, okay, so I don't know if you remember, but it was like the stage, and on top of the stage, they had people. I sat there and it was great to see the matches and everything, but I couldn't see the actual stage. I could see the wrestlers come out and do their entrance, but I couldn't see the actual stage. And I didn't really like that. It was not very good for me. Like, even though I could see the matches perfectly, that was perfectly fine. I just didn't like not being able to see the stage. Like, I felt a little bit cheated. Yeah. But I mean, aside from that, and it was also kind of scary too, because I was like behind the fireworks and I was like, oh, my face is gonna burn off, something like that. I was terrified in that arena, by the way. I don't know why. Like, I just thought it was so scary to me. Like, when they did the fireworks on the outside, it just sounded so ugly. And like, I don't know. I think it was because there were so many people in that building and I was just like one of like many. I don't like that feeling. And it was funny because I was kind of having like an internal freak out session. And my fiance was like, Denise, like, this building is like millions of dollars or billions. I don't even remember how much. He was like, you're fine, you're not gonna die right now. And I'm like, okay. Are you sure about that? Because what if the fireworks, they explode the building and this and that? Like, that's my internal thinking. Like, either when I'm sitting all the way at the top for press, I'm like, this is it, I'm gonna die of vertigo. Like, I have a horrible, like, I don't like to be at the top. Like, Barclays Center nearly killed me. It was horrifying, Luke. I was sitting there and I had to hold on to the seat because anytime people stood up, I'm like, that's it. They're going to fall and they're going to die and that's it. And I'm going to have to witness it. And my fiance was like, hey, Denise, I'm going to go get snacks. And I was like, no, don't get snacks because you're going to have to stand up. I hated it. So I don't like being on top. And I also don't have this horrible thing, Luke. So this kills me at all the live events. Even if I'm sitting at the bottom, like, even if I got good seats and stuff, right? I can't look up. I don't know what it is. If I look up and I see like the ceiling of these buildings, everything starts spinning. It's horrible. So I'm not having the greatest time. I have to focus like on just like the center.
I just had to get used to these sort of things because when I go to like press, like if you get invited to as a member of the press, you do just get put up in the cheap seats. Like, they don't tend to put you in nice places. They just put you in the cheap.
It depends.
Oh, I mean, when I did Hello Wembley for Progress, I was right up at the tippity top. Like, I could touch the back wall. I could see the lads in production.
Okay, hold on. WWE only sits you at the top when they have because you're in the desk. So like, you're in the top, but you have like desk and catering. So like, I don't want to call them cheap seats because it's like, you got a table. You're like, everything's all like, set up very nicely for you to connect and plug your stuff. I love that stuff. I don't mind sitting all the way at the top as long as I get to have my laptop with me. The only time I had to sit in the cheap seats for WWE was, I think it was for what was I there for at Barclays Center? It might have been the Hall of Fame. I think I was there for the Hall of Fame and I had the cheap seats there. Nope. I was wrong. It wasn't the Hall of Fame. It was NXT. It was NXT TakeOver. That's what I was at the top for. And that was brutal, my friend.
And I mean, we were so close to the wall that I actually couldn't take a selfie of all three of us with the ring in the background because my arm would just hit the wall. Like, there was no way for me to extend my arm out far enough to take a selfie of me, Ollie, and Laurie with the ring behind us.
Oh no, then you should have just done it with the wall behind you.
But you know what? They're just a plain wall. That's not very good for the old Insta. Very good for the social media.
I mean,
is it?
everybody's gonna know that you're at the event. People know what these walls look like.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was like, man, is that the wall of Wembley SSE? And I'm like, yeah, it is. That's right, guys.
There you go. No, it's crazy. Like, I feel very passionate about certain arenas and their layouts and where you're sitting and all of that.
Anyway, kind of like back to the point we're making, like, and you're right, like these $7 tickets that they're trying to sell aren't going to be, they're the limited views, they're not going to be great seats anyway. But the idea and the kind of the point that Meltzer is making that in previous AEW shows, those would have still sold and would have sold at better prices because people just want to be in the building for this. But the demand in the secondary market for this has not been as strong for something like Double or Nothing or Revolution or anything like that. And I really do think that that speaks kind of volumes to Forbidden Door. And I think that it's, you know, from what was once a very, very exciting announcement, whether it is just it's the card is not what people wanted it to be, or it's not the card that people expected it to be, or the people that dreamed of it being, or whether it's just super shows aren't the big draw that we may think that they are.
No, like maybe... I don't think that's it. That's not the reason. It's not that super shows aren't a big job. I still think they are. I think it's just the it was just the card personally, and the lack of certain stars. That to me is what impacted this show.
I think the lack of stars really has hurt.
Sorry?
I think the lack of stars really has hurt the show.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think it's because the point was already proven that joint shows work at the beginning when they freaking sold out and all of that. That point was already proven that joint shows do work literally by the sole interest of like purchasing tickets. You, like you said, having that feeling of wanting to be in the building. That point was proven. It works. Now it's just like, okay, how do you follow up on that?
That's it. Well, that's the question we have is like, is this a one-time deal? Because the next thing we're going to have to be looking at when, you know, in the next month or so is the buy rate for this on pay-per-view. Because you'd imagine, I would have thought, like, I think I may be way off base on here, but my assumption on this was, because the example I was looking at previously was Invasion, which was WWF versus WCW. And that is how WWF pitched the show. It wasn't really that because it was a bunch of top name WWF guys versus Billy Kidman and a bunch of nobodies, Chuck Palumbo, you know, for example, like, you know, Raven and these sorts of people. It wasn't the big WWF versus WCW show. However, the buy rate for it was astronomically high. It was bigger than most WrestleManias. It was a huge, huge draw for them. So for my thinking then, with New Japan and the popularity of New Japan and the popularity of AEW at the moment, I would have expected this show to do better than Double or Nothing or better than Revolution. But like maybe I'm now starting to think that I might be way off base on that. And we should actually expect this to do either the same or slightly less.
I don't know. I think I'm kind of expecting a little slightly less, but we could be surprised. We could be completely surprised. So like I do these giveaways and this is not really like this is not a great system of like being like, oh, this is the interest in a pay-per-view, but I do these giveaways for, you know, giving free, like allowing people to get a free shot at a free pay-per-view, right? Usually those get like around 1,100 retweets. This one for Forbidden Door got the most ever. It was like over 1,500. So I'm like, either everybody wants it for free because no one's willing to pay for it, or there's more interest in the pay-per-view. So take that for what you will. That's my system. So how many retweets did this show get? Oh, nobody's interested. I don't know. It's a terrible system.
This is what Meltzer wrote about here. It's like, how the show does is totally up to conjecture. There is no comparable show past the 1995 Starrcade show in Nashville, which was WCW and New Japan's combination event. And even then it was very different since the top matches were Ric Flair versus Sting versus Lex Luger and the winner of that facing Randy Savage. New Japan talent worked the undercard against WCW talents, but they were not in a money position on the show. By the standards of 1995, the buy rate was very bad for a Starrcade. But there is far more interest and knowledge of New Japan wrestlers today than in 1995 due to New Japan World access and years of ROH and AEW exposure of many of them. The Chicago ticket number and the reactions to Okada and Tanahashi would not have happened in the 1990s. But this show is about learning from a ship traveling in uncharted waters. If it doesn't do well, there may not be another. If it does do well, there should be another. even if it doesn't do well, the idea of Okada, Zack Sabre Jr., Ospreay, White, Tanahashi, and the others doing more in AEW is sound, since they're exposed and can be brought in for dream matches and programs, just as they used Suzuki, Kenta, and Ishii in the past. So I suppose that brings me to my next question is, like, if this show isn't a success, and we don't, like, do we do this again? Because Tony Khan said he wants this to be an annual event. Do we do Forbidden Door 2 next year?
Yes, my answer is completely and totally yes, because of the factors that we mentioned. I almost feel like we don't know all of their original ideas. You know, like there was a whole other concept of ideas that were supposed to happen. And so it kind of feels like, okay, you know what? Like maybe the first date, things went a little bit wrong because things were out of our control, but I still like you. Let's go on a second date, you know? Let's go to a better place. You know what? Let's make sure this all works out. So I still think, even if this pay-per-view does like okay, I still think that they should do a second one because, again, I already said, like, the point was already proven that people were interested in the idea and the concept of a joint show between AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's just that we were, shit happens. Life happens, man. Like, things happen, Luke. Sorry. Things happen, Luke.
Denise, I saw the show you did with Adam. Don't think I didn't see that show. I got the feedback from that show, Denise.
Pardon. I will say this, Luke. You are the most strict person on this podcast. Everybody was so cool about it. Everybody was like, whatever, like, let's vibe. And you were like, no, you're grounded, Denise. You said a curse word. You can't breathe for the next 3 hours.
I've never said you were grounded. I've just been told the way that we've always been told and the way YouTube keeps telling us is don't do it. Because if you do it, then we
You're just in dad mode, Luke. You're in dad mode. You were like ready to like ground me, stop me from going to prom. I mean, you name it. It was happening all because I said one little word.
And there it is. Tim has just said, has Denise sworn yet? There it is, my friend. She's literally just done it.
Life happens.
Life happens. I apologize.
Life happens.
I mean, yeah, for me, I'd love to see another show like this because I'd like to see the Forbidden Door show they wish they could have done this time round with people like Punk, with Danielson, with MJF, with Omega. Like my bold prediction I had when this thing was first announced that one of our angles is going to be Kenny Omega makes his return at this show and he has a face-off with Okada and they announce Omega Okada 5 at Forbidden Door 2. And you basically do a whole year's worth of promotion and build it around that, right? Like that was kind of like my big prediction. And I still think that they may do that.
They could.
I think that there's every chance that they do. And I think that the other side of this is that is there actually a better argument to be made that you don't do Forbidden Door 2 and you instead just do dream matches throughout various other pay-per-views. So like at All Out, you do Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. rather than waiting until Forbidden Door next year.
And here's the thing too, like you mentioned the thing about Kenny Omega. What do we know about like what's the common thing that we've been seeing on pretty much like every single major AEW pay-per-view? There's always surprises. Tony loves to throw in these surprises. That could possibly be a surprise. I mean, I don't know. It could even be just something of like, oh, here he is, surprise. I don't know. You know, Tony likes to do surprises.
Well, I mean, he does like surprisements, and we are getting one at this weekend as well. Do you have any predictions for Brian's replacement?
Oh, that's right. So there you go. I don't know. Everybody's saying Cesaro or Johnny Gargano. I'm not over the moon about either of those two options. Not to be like, I know, I'm just a negative Nancy. I just like suck the fun out of everything. I just don't think that, oh my God, I would be that person, but I just don't think that that's a big enough match for me. I'm sorry.
Cesaro versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Yes.
Man, like that. I mean, it's funny. We were chatting about this yesterday and kind of like the chat reaction there was like, if it's not Claudio, if it's anyone other than Claudio, it's a disappointment. Like, because
I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that.
I posed the idea of it being Gresham. And I actually think that Gresham versus Zack Sabre Jr. would probably be the better match because Gresham's incredible. And like Zack Sabre Jr. is legit one of my favorite wrestlers on the planet. But I don't know if Gresham has got that big name value to be a replacement for a Bryan Danielson.
It's not a dream match for me. I'm sorry. You know, I'll be the heel. I don't care.
Do you like, I mean, because you don't like Zack matches anyway, right?
No, I do. Oh, okay. But I just don't think that I would be so like, oh my God. about
I
it.
will be.
Well,
very
you
much
go
will
be that, Luke.
I
You
will
go
be that.
okay?
I will be that, Denise.
You know, I'm tired. This is my whole thing. I'm tired of everybody here in the wrestling world having to be identical twins. I get excited about different things, and so should the person next to me. If you want to be excited about it, go for it. If I want to be excited about something else or just be like, you know, mediocre about something, let me do that. I don't need to be twins with everybody.
I've got nothing against you being excited for
You
that.
were all like, and I was like,
I'm more shocked that you're not excited about Claudio possibly going into AEW. That was more because like that's a really for me, I feel like that's a really exciting thing. But like you're right. I shouldn't then project that upon you and ask you to also
Luke,
be excited about
that. Here's the thing though. We already got like hundreds of guys on the AEW roster that I got excited for, and I'm excited for them being there, and like they have more than enough people to keep the excitement going. We don't need any more.
Well, that's why they've just added more belts, because if they're adding more stars, they just add in more belts. We got like a bunch in from Ring of Honor. Now we've got some new ones from New Japan. Why not do the All Atlantic Championship as well? And we're going to be getting the trios titles at some point as well when Kenny comes back.
We're going to get to the point where we got the Wednesday bout. This is only defended on Wednesdays. The Wednesday bout, the Friday bout.
I'm pretty sure that's what the TNT title is supposed to be.
What, the Wednesday bout?
Well, you know, I thought it was supposed to be like a TV title defended on TNT shows.
Oh, that's true. There you go. Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to be like I'm just trying to reach here, okay? I'm trying to be like overly dramatic, all right? That's why I said a Wednesday bout.
Well, I like the idea of the Wednesday belts.
Dude, I'm totally for it. They could have a big W in the middle.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but there may be some people who would think that's slightly similar to.
Oh shit! Oh crap! I forgot what the W by itself could stand for. Hold on.
You have literally one right there.
I have it here. The Wednesday belt. Okay, it's 8:38 in the morning. I forgot.
That's all right, my friend. Speaking of
this is not the WWE bout. This is the Wednesday bout.
Speaking of forgetting things, I was like creating some groups in YouTube Analytics to like sort of, you know, see how sort of the shows are doing in this and the other. I was going through the pay-per-view predictions we've done this year, and I saw the graphic for Elimination Chamber, and I went, Bobby Lashley was WWE champion? When did that happen?
Luke, he was a champion for a huge amount of time.
No. I mean, this year. He was champion this year. I completely forgot he was champion.
Oh, yeah. This year he was champion for like a hot minute.
Yeah.
It was right before. Who did he lose it to? Was it Brock?
He lost it to Brock in the Chamber.
It was to Brock. Yeah.
He beat Brock for it at the Rumble.
Yeah, I remember that. Come on, Luke.
I was just looking at that and I was like, I have no memory of Bobby Lashley being WWE champion in 2022.
By the way, the answer is always Brock. If you're like, who pinned this person? It was Brock.
It was between January and April. It was probably Brock.
Who beat your Stratus for the title? Brock Lesnar.
Probably Brock that won it.
That's gonna be my answer for everything now. Brock Lesnar.
Well, let's get into your Ultra Chats on this subject. Join the conversation. It's WrestleTalk.com/support. Will Campbell kicks things off saying, "Morning, guys. After all the injury news, I think TK would be well within his right to wrap everyone in bubble wrap and then lock them in their hotel rooms until Sunday. I don't think I've seen any sort of a wrestling event this snake bit in recent memory. Last one I can think of is that TLC show where Roman had to go out and like Bray Wyatt had to go out, or you know, things like that. That's the last one I can really think of.
On Wednesday, I was telling my fiance, because it was the day that the Bryan Danielson announcement was made, and I was like, hey, do you think the show's cursed? And I was like, oh, I'm just being over dramatic, right? Like, come on, like, it's being over dramatic, right? And then the next day, yesterday, when the Ishii thing came out, everybody on my comments was like, this show's cursed, this show's cursed. And I was like, I was thinking that. I just didn't want to say it because I didn't want to sound too like, weird,
witchcrafty about it all.
Yeah, I didn't want to sound like a psycho person who believes in curses, but I kind of do a little bit.
When the announcement came out about Ishii, I was like, this show is cursed. Like, because you thought we went through all of the injuries, and then nope. Also, Ishii is now being replaced with Clark Connors. I'm like, come on, guys.
So everybody was thinking it. Nobody was just actually saying it.
No one was saying it. Ten Rosa said, Forbidden Door is going to be so much fun. I can see there being surprises and announcement for future shows, great matches, a huge crowd, and an amazing atmosphere. It's a shame with the injuries. Please, Kenny Omega, make an appearance. I would love to see Kenny Omega on the show in some capacity. Dat Guy Kenny says, hey, first time Ultra Chatter here. After watching the last review, I decided to buy this pay-per-view. In my opinion, critics are being harsh. I've never watched New Japan, but I've always heard it was great. I think they're doing the best they can build-wise, and I'm excited to see New Japan stars. So that's actually a point that Meltzer brought up in the thing, which is like the AEW haven't done a good job of establishing these guys or like introducing these wrestlers to the wider audience. But he also said at the same time, it's too many people to introduce at one point. So like there's not enough TV time for Matt to have a video package for Hiromu Takahashi and Shingo
there's not
Takagi
enough TV time for the AEW talent.
Exactly right. So we're trying to introduce like 10 new guys like through video packages, like or promo times. Like, there's not enough time on the show to do all of that. So I think Tony Khan is kind of resting on the fact that I think most of the people who watch AEW, maybe 80-85%, know who these people are already and will just be excited because we've said their names.
Yep. I think it's also going to be like, I'm just trying to see this from a perspective of like, okay, so let's say that like somebody's like, okay, I don't know who Hiromu is, right? And then he comes out and, he does, he's part of this freaking, what is it? 8-man. Yeah. 8-man. He comes out and, he does his spectacular moves, and that could be enough to have somebody be, and then you see this with a bunch of other guys that do, whatever they do. And you can see that and be like, oh shit, like, damn, there's something there. Oh, damn. Sorry. Look, damn it. I can't do this show anymore.
And you said that my heart wasn't in this show.
Oh, I give up on life.
Frankenfoot said, my wife and I are not familiar with New Japan talent just by name and reputation. We're definitely getting this pay-per-view. It's our first match with New Japan talent match after match. We support AEW and we're proof that some fans also are coming through the door for the first time. Hawk the Outcast said, I think what really hurt the build for this show, apart from the injuries, was the lack of integration. Have Cole help Jay win the IWGP Championship. Have ELP help the Bucks win the tag team titles. Make it more about Bullet Club taking over the show.
I have a theory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist now. It's my new gimmick.
Oh, okay. I like this.
Okay. So, you know how you and I were talking about these comments that we get where people are like, I don't know if I should buy the pay-per-view. And then you know how I said, there's people that like, it depends on like the general mood. And if you plant the seeds that like all of a sudden this is not a worthy show, what if it's the WWE bot accounts and they're like, they've assumed new identities.
You're saying
and they're
that
like,
it's the bots.
It's the bots.
The evidence is pointing. I've got hard evidence to show it's all the bots that hate AEW.
They're just upset because, AEW is going to get the Wednesday bout with the big W. I'm telling you, that's my theory.
Oh, man. It's just WWE planting them stories again. It's like, they were the ones that contacted Domino's. They were the ones who were like dobbing them in. They're the ones who were leaking all of the Rampage Fast National numbers.
Maybe they did witchcraft on the pay-per-view. They went to like one of those like people and they were like, here's a picture of AEW's logo. Here's a shred of a ticket stub. Go do the witchcraft.
Yeah. Making little voodoo dolls of everyone. Little Tomohiro Ishii voodoo doll stabbing him in the knee.
Yeah, there you go. I'm telling you. It's a thing.
Hawk the Outcast continues, said, love the idea of announcing Okada Omega 5 a year in advance, giving Kenny plenty of time to rehab and stay in storylines, interrupting his training for a match to deal with the JSA or another roadblock around pay-per-view time. Thank you for the show. The other thing, actually, I just want to say that I'm really excited about for the show because he just reminded me there. Kevin Kelly's doing commentary. So already it's a 5 out of 5 show for me. If the commentary team is just Kevin Kelly and Excalibur, I will be super duper happy.
Yeah, that'd be good. But they're going to do more than that.
Yeah, they'll have 6 guys on commentary.
Yeah, I was going to say they're going to have like 50.
Do you remember when like WWE sort of about 10 years ago when ECW was still a thing and they would have ECW wrestlers involved in the Royal Rumble and they would have the Raw commentary team and the SmackDown commentary team and the ECW commentary team. There's like, oh, there's
and
too
then the
many
Spanish
people.
commentary team.
It's like there's too many commentators here, and they're all shouting over each other. And Cole and like JBL are arguing with Taz. I'm like, nope, this is too much. This is officially now too much to watch.
Yeah, you know what I like for is it for WrestleMania? I like when they show they don't do that. They didn't do this last time though, huh? When they show all of the commentators,
they go down that line. It's like the French commentary team and the German commentary team.
They didn't do it for the last one. Did they do it for the one before? No, obviously not. Never mind. Did they do it for the one where it rained?
I guess it's because it's flying people in. You know, it's pandemic era, still not letting people come in and out. You know, they're just like trying to be as safe as possible. Maybe that's why.
Oh, I missed that. I like that.
Yeah,
I get so excited. I'm like, oh, that's who does the French commentary.
It's how we got to see Funaki. We got to see Funaki on every pay-per-view doing the Japanese commentary.
I like it. I like that's probably one of my favorite parts of the intro.
It's a good time to also go to the toilet as well because well, it's a good point to celebrate. They're not doing any wrestling on there. It's just a long entrance for Alexa Bliss.
It's a good time to practice languages, Luke.
No, it's not, Denise. You don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, but I mimic it. That's how I learn, Luke.
I was going to say, this is like Andy Datson once told me. One of the first things he told me when he started working for us, he's like, I can sing Let It Go by Frozen in 46 different languages.
What?
And I'm like, whoa, that's super impressive. I was like, can you do it? And he was like, no. Okay, so I watched a YouTube video where someone did sing it in 46 different languages, and I'm really good at imitating that. I'm like, okay, so you can't sing it in 46 different languages then.
Okay, I was about to say he can do that.
That's what I was
so
like,
amazed.
Whoa, it's amazing. Like, oh no, you're copying someone else's work.
I mean, okay, if he's like hitting play and pause and he's like,
oh, Denise, you gotta be careful with those sort of tongue maneuvers, my friend. This is the internet.
Hold on. I gotta rephrase. This is the wrestling internet.
Exactly, it's even worse.
Fine then, let it go. Hold on. Déjalo ir. Déjalo ir. I don't know what the Spanish let it go version sounds like. I've never heard it.
Can you not just do it? Like,
I don't remember the entire song though. Let it. What's after let it go?
Can't hold it back anymore.
Déjalo ir, ya no lo puedo tener. I don't know, like, damn, it's hard. It's hard to translate it. I can't do it. I have to look at it and think about it longer.
Okay, well, Denise, when we do our next show together, I'm expecting a full video of you singing Let It Go in Spanish.
Oh, God. Yeah, I wonder if there's a Spanish version of that.
There must be.
There's gotta be, right?
Gotta be, right?
I'm pretty sure somebody did it.
I mean, I would have thought Disney did it. I bet you, like, Disney have got Espanol versions of all of their classic songs.
Yeah, makes sense. I just haven't heard it.
Yeah, I reckon I bet if you go onto Disney Plus, it's probably got a language option on there, and you just switch it over to Espanol.
Yeah, but I still think that song's in English, though. Why would it be in Spanish? I still think it's in English.
I don't know.
The song's a song, Luke. I don't think they translate the songs.
Well, I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm a white British guy. I've listened to one track my whole life. I was like, well, I already know what they're saying. Like, I don't need to have this translated in any other language for me.
I just don't think they translate the songs.
Maybe they don't. Mr. Pure Sarcasm said, I've been to every AEW show near Chicago, and I am going to this event. I'm really looking forward to it, but maybe now paying $200 for good seats for this cursed event, there is a bit of regret there.
How much did he pay?
$200.
I paid $800 for my airplane ticket and $300 for my hotel, so I don't even want to talk about it. I get mad too. I don't want to talk about it.
Are you going to the show?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to the show.
Because you haven't been here talking to me.
No, I knew you were flying out somewhere. I didn't realize you were flying to Chicago.
Where would I be flying out for this weekend? Like the Bahamas?
Could have been. You might have been going on holiday. You're about to get married. Maybe you need a weekend away.
And why would I pick this weekend of all weekends? Like, oh yes, I'm just gonna go to Hawaii.
You might have booked it in advance. You didn't know the show was going to be announced. It was only announced a few weeks ago. Maybe you were just like, I booked this in advance. I just happen to be going away this weekend.
No, I just don't do things like that. Oh, although I am going to do that for Survivor Series. I'm ditching Survivor Series this year.
Well, I mean, everyone WWE do. You may as well join them.
I thought about it. I was like, because my fiance was like, hey, Denise, like, let's go on vacation because it's a 4-day weekend. And I was like, are you willing to miss Survivor Series? And I was like, well, it's Survivor Series, and the last couple of years have told me I didn't really need to watch it. So yeah, I'll miss Survivor Series. So I am missing that show. That's the only show I'm missing this year. That's like, yeah.
That's why I'm so stoked for August. There's no pay-per-views in August. It's like my wife and I have got like free reign to just pick any week to take off.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize that. Are you sure?
Yeah, because SummerSlam's in July. So there's nothing in August, and then it's not until September where you got Clash of Clans and then All Out the day after.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Look at that.
Busy weekend, though. DJ Miller said, honestly, if Forbidden Door was booked under the all-out pay-per-view than being rushed in the middle of the year, they would have had more time to build a perfect pay-per-view. Overall, I may watch it this weekend. Well, that's an interesting idea, actually. Rather than it being a separate pay-per-view, it's just all-out is all-out Forbidden Door.
You know who's going to tune into this pay-per-view? Everybody who has FOMO.
Oh, you reckon?
I suffer from FOMO. Do you suffer from FOMO?
I do with certain things. Like when I watch episodes of No Rolls Barred Plays Blood in the Clock Tower that I'm not in, I get FOMO then. And I get FOMO for Board Game Club because I like playing board games, and particularly with my friends. But I've never had FOMO for a wrestling event.
Yeah, see, but some people may have FOMO for it. Like if I was in the Bahamas, like you thought I was gonna be on vacation or something, I would have had FOMO. I'd be like, damn, I want to watch the show. You're missing out, bro.
Ten Rosa said, Denise, you're a mad woman. Luke getting that dad brain forgetting things. Justice for Will. Denise screwed Will. I hope TK gives as good as he gets, and I hope that Wrestle Kingdom gets some star power for it. Still hopeful we can they can get better between AEW and New Japan. Because that was actually the point that Ollie made on yesterday's broadcast, which is that, like, hey, Forbidden Door 2 could be next year, but also, like, what if the deal between AEW and New Japan falls through and we don't get that Forbidden Door 2?
I want to change my Twitter name to Hollywood Mad Woman. I kind of like it. Sorry, that's what I was thinking about right now. It's like Hollywood Mad Woman kind of has a nice ring to it.
Yeah, I like it. The Hollywood Mad Woman.
I like it.
Jake Salazar said, maybe these aren't our dream matches, but maybe it's the wrestlers and there's a different audience in Japan that probably has other options than us as well. Chris Nolan said, I find it interesting that FITE sent out an email that they announced a $4 price discount for the New Japan AEW pay-per-view for those who subscribe to AEW Plus on FITE. For those that already bought it, can get 4 FITE credits. So maybe it's a push to get more sales.
Wait, repeat that. What can you do?
So FITE is how we watch AEW shows here, like through the FITE app. They announced today a $4 discount on the pay-per-view if you've already got the AEW Plus subscription, which we have in the office, then you can get £4 off buying the pay-per-view.
$4 beautiful dollars.
Well, I mean, it's 4 great British pounds, which I think in American money is probably about $30 because, your money sucks.
Bro, I was here mocking your $4, and all of a sudden, it's not $30. No
it's
way.
Not. It's
like
about
$6.
It's about $6. It's about $6.
I was about to say, what? That doesn't make any sense. I've been to London. Well, I was like, that seems a little outrageous.
I think that it's less about trying to get extra pay-per-view buys in for this with the £4 discount. I think it's more because of the idea with AEW Plus is that also it's 4 pay-per-views a year. And so this way it's like, because there's now 5 pay-per-views a year, you get a little bit extra off this one. That was kind of my reading on it.
Yeah, it's fine. What about us though? We don't get no freaking discount.
Well, take it up with Bleacher Report. Is that who you should be taking it up with?
I don't know.
Who do you watch the pay-per-view through?
I'm sick and tired of them freaking charging us for everything around here, man. I'm upset right now.
Who do you watch the pay-per-view through?
Oh, well, when I watch it from home, Bleacher Report, because that's where or BR Live or whatever the hell the thing is. Yeah,
take it up with them then. Stop having a go at me. It's not my fault that you're paying for the pay-per-view.
No, I'm pissed right now.
Get Sean to pay for it.
We don't have a discount. Sean doesn't pay for shit.
Please.
I'm just saying, we should have a discount too.
Well, as I said, take it up with BR Live. It's not my fault.
I don't think who decides the pay-per-view price.
AEW, I would have thought.
So then shouldn't I take it up with Tony Khan?
Well, I mean, are you on the media call today?
I'm going to be like, yo, what's up? Where's our discounts?
Everyone's asked about Forbidden Door too, and you're like, yo, Tony, can I get a discount on this one?
Yeah, seriously. That'd be funny if that's like the first question. Yo, Tony Khan. In that voice too. Yo, Tony Khan, where's my discount?
$50 for this pay-per-view. I just paid $50 for the last pay-per-view.
No, I'm gonna go cut a promo and be like, we got rent prices, gas prices, every week on groceries I spend this amount. I can't pay $50 for a pay-per-view.
It's $5 a gallon, Tony. Have you even filled your car up recently?
It's like nearly $8 a gallon for gas here.
Dude, we don't have gallons here. All I know is it's currently like it's nearly £2 a litre here, which is insane.
I don't know what that is, Luke.
It's £1. I filled my car up the other day. It was £1.91 per litre. It cost me like 60 quid to fill my car up. I was fuming.
Luke, I don't know any of the words you just used right now. Quid,
anyway.
liter, all of this. I don't. We do gallons here and dollars, please.
Sorry, I apologize. We'll do everything in pounds as well, like weight.
Yes,
rather than
pounds. Thank you. Miles. Thank you.
We do things in miles.
I know. I thought you guys did the other one.
No,
Kilometers or something.
No. It's miles. I know.
You guys did miles?
Yeah. I have like our roads is 50 miles an hour.
What?
Yeah.
No, but when you say like, oh, it's 2 miles away, do you say 2 miles away, or do you say like
about 2 miles away?
Really? I thought you guys did kilometers or something.
No, we're a very mixed place because we also do kilometers, we also do inches and yards, we also do like ounces and pounds. We do all sorts of things.
You guys just make it too complicated. You guys drive on the wrong side of the road. I mean, like all of this. I hate it.
Yeah, well, I think you're wrong. Charlie, brand new member. Thank you so much for joining our community. And Zephyr, who's been a member for 11 months, says, WWE has disappointed me for years. Think I'll be disappointed by a single match on this card. I'll be at Detroit in person, AEW. Dart Train 24 says, Denise, I need to know, is Graham a spoon?
Were you here for that, Luke? Did you see that?
When was I where for where?
Well, we had a Tempest and I had a whole conversation about drugs on this show. And he was talking to me about a gram, and I was like, well, can you describe what a gram is to me? And I said, is it 1 spoon? Is it 2 spoons? And then Tempest broke on the internet, like broke. He couldn't host the show anymore. He couldn't.
Oh, man.
He broke. He malfunctioned.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like we also do tablespoons of things of like sizes and stuff. You know, it's like it's 1 teaspoon of cumin.
I'm out. I hate all this stuff.
Jay Drazinski says, hi, Luke and Denise. Luke, could you show off that Ghostbusters shirt you're wearing? What's your favorite song off the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack? This is a very old t-shirt, actually. I wasn't really meant to be wearing this one today. It's my Ecto 1 like manual t-shirt. Oh, I lift it up a little bit.
I love the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack.
It's a great soundtrack. It's a really good soundtrack. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What's your favorite song on it?
Track number 2.
But for real though, it's the Run DMC Ghostbusters track. I absolutely love that song.
And I don't watch Ghostbusters. I didn't even know there was a soundtrack. I didn't even know there was a movie. None of it.
There was a movie. Jake Salazar said, also, Denise, I need 3 spoons of cocaine and 5 spoons of weed. Thank you for your service. Please get back to me at your earliest convenience.
You're welcome. Oh, yeah. You forgot. So, Luke, you missed out. I'm now a drug pusher. Sorry. I'm just very bad influence on this podcast.
I leave this show for a few weeks.
Look, you're glitching. I don't know how to tell you this. I don't know if other people are seeing this, but you're like...
Everyone's watching it. Like my laptop is really starting to crap out on me here. And I'm like...
You look like you have the Exorcist inside of you.
Well, I tell you what I look like, and this is only a reference that a handful of people are going to understand. I look like Max Headroom. I look exactly like Max Headroom at times. Like that is. I was watching it there on the side screen. That is what Max Headroom does, and it is just like it is. My internet is crapping out a little bit. My laptop is crapping out a little bit. I'm also running the stream, and I'm running the stream here. It's a whole thing.
Bro, I thought that the Camucho came to get you. I was like, he's done. They got him. Let's start throwing holy water on him.
And lastly, Sheldon Jackson here said, curious to know, do you think they'll do a separate joint event in Japan or just put it on a Wrestle Kingdom card?
Ooh, that'd be fun. What if next time they do AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door, but in Japan?
I wouldn't think that's out of the realms of possibility. Is that the next Forbidden Door is in Japan?
I hope
But
they
I
don't
also
do
don't.
it till I get my passport.
I also don't think it's out of reference for out of step for AEW to have a match at Wrestle Kingdom. You know, maybe like an AEW World Championship match, maybe an All Atlantic Championship match between whoever is the champion versus someone from New Japan. I could certainly see them doing that.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. I would like that idea. Come on, like we have an opportunity. Let's get creative. Let's think outside the box.
Well, that is going to wrap it up. Thank you all so much for your Ultra Chats, and thank you so much for joining us here on this show. Denise, the floor is yours. Please plug away. What have you got coming up?
Well, I have a lot coming up. I promote everything on Twitter. So please go follow me on Twitter at _Denise Salcedo. If you guys haven't followed me, head on over there because I'm trying to get to 100K before the end of the year. And it's really, really hard. So go there. On top of that, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo. That's the place to be. That's my channel. And I'm so close, Luke, so close to 60,000 subscribers. And I know that's a little bit for all of you British boys, but for me, it's a lot.
I think that's a great achievement. I think that's an amazing achievement, in fact.
Oh, don't mock me, Luke.
I'm not
Don't
mocking
mock
you.
me.
Like, this channel here's got like 60,000 subs. I think that's a really good
Yeah,
achievement.
but my channel's been around longer, okay? And that's just sad.
Yeah, no, but we had a base of like 800,000 people to send across to this channel. So like I think 60
I don't
like
have
60K.
800,000
Well,
people.
that's what I mean. That's why I think that it's a really impressive achievement. I'm not
Well,
mocking at all.
I'm going to take it as mocking, Luke.
Well,
Okay.
actually,
What?
Denise, you know the last time we did a show together and you were talking about like you trying to get to your Twitter milestone goals of like how many followers you've got, and I said, well, I've got 31,000 subscribers, right?
Uh-huh.
I've got 31,000 followers on Twitter.
Still?
I can now tell you, as of 2 weeks ago, I have 32,000 followers on Twitter.
Amazing, Luke. You're working so great. I love it.
Oh, I had 2 tweets that did. I got like 3,500 likes, and it really pushed me over.
Amazing. Where was I trying to get to the last time you and I were talking?
I think you were still pushing the 100,000 thing.
Oh, well, I'm still going to be pushing it the whole year.
Yeah,
I
well,
have
that's fine.
I have a plan, like a strict plan, like
What's the
goals and stuff. And I'm behind right now. I'm really like dropping the ball right now.
Well, I mean, everyone go and follow Denise Salcedo on Twitter. It's an excellent follow on Twitter. Like, did you hear she was retweeting a retweet thing where you can get like free pizza and stuff and like free
Bro,
pay-per-view
I'm like
prizes?
amazing on Twitter. I got,
Yes.
yeah, like just saying, like pretty soon, watch.
And also, Will Washington deserved better.
Poor Will. You know what? Will's a big giant baby face right now. So you're welcome, Will.
I went into the office the next day and Adam said, "How was the show last night?" And I was like, "Oh, Adam, you should have seen it."
Okay, so I need to have a conversation with Adam because I need to know what he thought and if he's going to allow me to host Quizzlemania again because I have an idea.
Oh, do you now? I can
Yes,
tell
I
you
do.
this. I can tell you this. He did not like the Money in the Bank thing.
Okay,
because
well, I don't
he
care
hates-
what he
hates
likes.
automatic win. He hates automatic win things. So like he was
Hey,
not...
he allowed me the freedom. He didn't give me any rules. He didn't say, "Hey, Denise, you must do this." Okay, well, I want to do Christmas Quizzlemania.
Oh, you want to do the big fat Quizzlemania of the year?
Yeah, but I want to do it like, yeah, that's my plan.
Okay.
How many do you guys do for December?
Well, we
just
do
one?
one. We do one a month.
Oh,
like,
Adam
that
ain't
is-
gonna let me have that.
Yeah, so our December one is the big fat Quizzlemania of the year.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, Denise, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all for tuning in to watch this edition of the show. We're back tomorrow. Pete and Tempest will be reviewing SmackDown and oh no, it's not actually. It's Pete and Sullivan reviewing SmackDown and Rampage this week, and then on Sunday we've got our Forbidden Door live reactions here on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel, and I'll be in the office where the internet is better, and I'm not using this laptop. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care, everyone. I love you.